Good evening. This is Scott Silverstein, and I was requested to introduce Susan Tussey and Chris Wright. But the truth is, they really don't need any introduction, and I don't want to waste any time with the introductions because I want to get right to the meat of these announcements. So let's welcome Susan and Chris. And also, one other comment. If you have any comments or questions during this presentation, feel free to put them in the comment area below this presentation. There's commenting. You can add whatever you want to add. And at the end of the show, Chris and Susan will try to get to most of those comments. So without any further ado, let's welcome Chris and Susan.
Hi, everybody. So welcome to our semi-membership meeting that we're having in January. It's been so long since we've been able to get together as a group. I think our last membership meeting was in February before all the madness started. So if this works really well, we're hoping to have another more broader meeting in February 10th, actually, that will include a guest speaker, hoping to mimic what we've experienced before in the past at the community centers at the Giant. So let's cross our fingers. And again, like Scott said, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box and we will try to get to them. I want to thank everybody for showing up. This is exciting that we all can get together. So without further ado, I want to turn the program over to Chris for the little teaser that we sent out to kind of to have some interest in getting together tonight. And so Chris, Wright, please take the mic.
Thank you very much, Susan. And my thanks to each of you folks out there for joining us, whether you're here live or watching this later. Let's take away the suspense and get to the good news right away. We are announcing this evening that the Harrisburg Bicycle Club is planning to restart club rides on Saturday, January 30th. Again, let me repeat that. Our plan is to restart club rides on Saturday, January 30th. I'm going to go a little bit over the background of that to get us to this point. And then what we'll do is we'll try to address questions just specific to the riding part before I turn things back over to Susan. As I think a lot of you are aware, over the past year, we've had to debate the decision to keep or suspend club rides several times. In March of 2020, we suspended club rides, as did pretty much all other bike clubs, due to the emergence of the virus. And that suspension lasted about 3 months or so. We restarted club rides, I think it was June 18th, and that was corresponding with Dauphin County, Cumberland County, Perry County, all going back to green status. Later in 2020, we again suspended club rides on November 20th due to the increasing spread of COVID-19, and that's been our status up to this point. In each of those cases, it was a tough decision to make. Lots of debate, lots of discussion. We made the decisions we made because of really two reasons: the safety of our members and the protection of the club itself as an entity. So with that in mind, you might ask, it would be logical to ask, well, why are we willing to restart club rides now? And really, there's two elements to that. The first is that the protocols that are in place at the federal and especially the state level have changed. Some of them have expired, so the risk to the club is perhaps less. Second, and more importantly, we now have 10 months of knowledge and experience under our belts. And I don't say our as Susan, myself, the club. I mean the experts at this. We seem to have a better handle now on what's going on in terms of transmission or not. None of us here on this group are going to profess to be experts at all. We're simply doing the research that we can to make a good decision. I've spent a lot of time over the past 2 weeks looking for cases of COVID transmission occurring on group bicycle rides. Haven't found one, not locally, not in the state, not in the country. That's good news. So that means that riding a bicycle outside is a pretty good, solid, safe activity. So when we restart, We will, of course, want people to adhere to whatever federal and state protocols are in place at the time on January 30th. And for us, what that means when riding a bicycle is we're going to wear a mask where the federal and state protocols say that we need to wear a mask, which is when you are in close proximity, 6 feet or less from another person. When you're riding your bicycle, you don't need to wear a mask. You do need to maintain some distance between yourselves and other riders. When we stop, if you go into a store, they will likely have a mask protocol. You, of course, need to adhere to that. So there's nothing different about the bike club protocols. They align with the federal and state protocols, and we're not putting anything additional in there at all. The one piece that we are going to put in, which we think is a smart move, is we are going to keep our groups to 10 riders or less. So what that means is if 14 riders show up, we're just going to split up. We certainly want to see as many folks out there riding as possible. That's what we're all about. Again, we'll keep our groups to 10 or less, and we'll split up if we need to. I know that a lot of folks have been riding. If we care about cycling at all, we care about people riding. So it's been great to see people riding. We are absolutely looking forward to a better season in 2021 and a lot more rides. I want to personally say thank you to each of you out there for your patience. I'll especially want to say thanks to Glenn Wareham and Susan for leading the club through what was a lot of very difficult decision-making in a pretty tough year. And I'm appreciative of all the support of you folks out there in terms of us getting back to riding. Believe me, we're just as anxious as you are. I know that a lot of folks have been riding during the pandemic on their own small groups. That's kind of what I've been doing. Glad to hear that because, again, we're all about riding. So I'm going to pause at this point, and I see lots of interesting comments. I don't know why I didn't wear a helmet. Scott had one, but it would have covered this gray hair, I think. If there are questions at this point, please put them in the chat box. I'm kind of scrolling through those now.
I haven't seen any questions yet, but people are telling us they're here. It's so great to see you guys.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
So go ahead.
Let me take a couple of questions that folks had asked over the last few weeks that I thought might be common questions. There were questions about why didn't we keep riding and just give people the choice to ride or not. That's absolutely a legitimate question. Our responsibility as officers of the club is to both the membership themselves and to the club. And I do see that there's a question coming in, so I will get to your question shortly. The decisions we had to make here were about a situation where it wasn't, for example, a case where, okay, I'm going to go out and ride. I'm going to decide whether I'm going to wear reflective clothing or high visibility clothing and a blinker on the back of my bike. And if I don't, well, then that's on me and it could only affect me. In this case, we were dealing with a contagious situation. So we knew that a decision that each individual made was half the equation, if you will, but not all of it. So we had to think about how the group dynamic of that was going to work and whether we could manage the adherence to all of that, and then whether the club could be vulnerable to all that. So we do think that we made the right decision in that case, but make sure you hear this. We are glad people are riding. We want people to ride their bicycles. So that's kind of where we landed on that. I'm going to go to a question that was asked, and I'll read the question verbatim. I'm going to paraphrase. What will HBC do when someone forgets to follow the guidance and someone makes a complaint to HBC? Well, I would put that in the frame of what would we do if it were not on an HBC ride? We would probably do the same thing. The word forgets in the question, so I'm going to address that scenario. We would certainly remind the person, hey, here's what the guidance is. Here's how you need to follow it. If it's a case where someone has forgotten, I suspect a gentle reminder will get them where they need to be. If it's a case where someone is willfully deciding to not do that, well, then we have other means to deal with that. That hasn't changed at all. all ride leaders are trained in how to deal with situations on a ride where you need to address a rider. So but I have to tell you, I don't anticipate any of that happening. I think people that want to ride, and there certainly isn't any lack of knowledge out there in terms of what the federal and state protocols are. So I suspect folks will come out ready to ride and ready to ride with those protocols in place. The question, why was Scott wearing his helmet? No idea.
I'll address that. It's dangerous. This kind of technology is dangerous. You don't know what you're going to encounter. And it's similar to riding bicycles out there now. We just don't know what we're going to encounter these days with cars coming up on our back and passing us closely. It's a tough world, and we got to protect ourselves. And that's why I'm wearing the helmet. My wife wanted to know the same question.
Yep. A question just popped up. Are HBC masks and gaiters available for members to purchase? My understanding is that HBC, I believe it's officially called a gaiter with the HBC logo. Those absolutely are available, and you don't even have to purchase them. They're free. In fact, if you came and asked me for 5 of them, you'd be doing me a huge favor. I know that Susan has others as well, or Susan has those as well.
We could thank Glenn for that. Glenn decided that we all needed gaiters in this time period, and he went ahead and got them for us. So.
Okay, the question popped up. What will happen if, this is a follow-up from the previous question, what will happen if that person just doesn't follow the protocols? Also, what is the leader's responsibility in this situation? Again, I'll refer back to where the federal and state guidance lies, because that's what gives us our guidance. If you were to walk into a store right now and the store had a mask protocol, which they pretty much all should, and you refuse to wear a mask, they have the right to say, you can't be on our premises. That's not a difference whether it's a store or a arena or a venue or a sporting event. And I don't know that it would be any different for us. If someone is willfully saying, I'm not going to follow those protocols, then certainly I think we not only have the right, but the responsibility for the safety of the other riders on that ride to say, okay, you need to break away from this ride. We can't have you here on this ride. That's the simplest way I can explain that. I think what we'll do is I will turn this back to Susan in a second here. But if there are still questions about the riding part, please put them in the chat area and we can address them kind of as we go. And I'll finish with kind of a little thought here, if you will. I'm relatively new to this bike club. I've only been riding a bicycle for 5 years or so, other than when I was 11 years old. And when I came into this club, I was really very fortunate that folks like Larry Riley and others were there, and they were welcoming and kind and courteous and supportive. And then I met people like Marilyn Chastek, and who, if you've ridden with Marilyn, you know what she's like. She's great to ride with, and she's a great coach and mentor for newer riders. And it's not a coincidence at all that both of those individuals have won the HBC Service Before Self Award. I think that's a great example of how we can move forward as a club to think about how we are for our existing riders, for our existing members, and for all of those new Central Pennsylvania people who bought a bicycle last year. There's going to be a lot of those out there. We've already gotten a lot of interest. Our membership actually has gone up. We're excited about having them out there, and we're excited about being welcoming to them and being kind and courteous to them. So that's what I'm looking for and looking forward to in a positive way. So I'll turn it back to Susan at this point.
I just want to bring in a comment here from Howard Ross,
Okay.
which is very pertinent to what you're saying, Chris. You might want to address this one as well.
Are you talking about the text at the bottom of the screen, Scott? It says just
Yes.
with
That
helmets.
Howard Ross entered that through YouTube. He most likely got to this through the Harrisburg Bicycle Club website. It's harrisburgbicycleclub.org, which brought him into the YouTube presentation. Go ahead.
Okay. The comment that we're looking at is just as with helmets and or listening devices, the club leader has the responsibility to enforce the rules. I'm going to guess what Howard is saying there is the ride leader has the responsibility to enforce the rules in addition to the club itself. And the short answer to that is yes, absolutely, that's the case.
Here's another one from Cindy Gorski, which is pretty spot on.
I'll read the question. It says, yes, what is the leader's responsibility? Are leaders required to assure all participants are wearing masks and distancing? I think that's the role of the leader and the people on the ride as well. That's the case if you walk into a store. The manager of the store is the person in charge of that situation. The ride leader is the person in charge of our ride. That means they can request, they can require, and they can remove if necessary. I don't think that's even going to be necessary, but if it is, it is. And the ride leader certainly has the authority to do that. To say they have the responsibility to do that, you have to understand that their responsibility stops at the point where they can enforce a law. They can't enforce a law. They can enforce a club protocol. We know what the protocols are. They align with the federal and state guidelines, and that's what we're going to ask ride leaders to stick to. And we're going to ask the riders to stick to.
So Scott, can everybody see the chats or is it just us?
All the comments that we're looking at. Okay.
Someone asked if I was sporting a tan. I rode 32 miles today, so I don't know if it counts for that. But...
Yeah, all the comments are coming in from Facebook or YouTube. And here's another from Carl Martz. This is another good comment that you might want to take a look at as well.
Yep, I'll read that. It says the ride leader should publicly, so all can hear, inform the rider that they are not recognized as a participant in the particular HBC ride. Carl, I don't recognize Carl's name. I don't know if Carl's a trained ride leader, but what Carl has very well done is to cite what already is in existence in the ride leader training. All ride leaders know that they have the authority to remove a rider if the rider is non-compliant, and that certainly is the case here.
Thank you.
Someone asked how do we get one of the gators? If you're on the East Shore, send me, in fact, no matter where you're at, send me an email. My email is on the website, and I'll see to it that you go. Question was asked, does a balaclava equal a mask? If you read the federal and state guidelines, the answer to that is yes. A face covering is a face covering. There was a question earlier about, it said, or perhaps a suggestion, to have ride leaders carry disposable masks so that if a rider shows up without one, they could give them one. We've kicked that around. I don't know that we've settled on anything there. There's some thought about what does that mean if you provide someone with a mask? You know, you're assuring that that mask is clean and unused? I think we have to kind of tease that out a little bit. It's certainly not a bad idea. I tend to have 5 or 10 masks in my cart all the time anyway.
By the way, Chris, Karl Martz is saying that he's a past president and a longtime member of the Harrisburg Bicycle Club.
Then my apologies to Carl. I'm a newbie, Carl, and I appreciate your tolerance for that. And Cindy Gorski has pointed out that she does have gaiters for the West Shore members. Okay, so let me turn things back over to Susan. And thank you all very much for the questions and comments.
Thanks, Chris. I'm excited that we're going to actually have our ride start back up again. And of course, the 30th is a Saturday, and the first one's going to be the Saturday ride, so on the East and the West Shore. So let's talk about some of the upcoming events that we normally see. The first one I want to talk about is the Spring Fling. So we are going to do that again this year. Glenn Wareham has put together the package down in Bethany Beach again. It's going to be from April 29th to May 2nd. And if you're interested in going, you want to go to the Harrisburg website, Bicycle Club website, and go to the drop down of special events. And there you will find the Spring Fling. And to attend, what you need to do is to get your own hotel room. You're responsible for getting it. And there's a discount rate for HBC members. And then once you've secured that, then you email Glenn and tell him that you're coming and you'll get put on the list. Glenn told me we've had a nice response to that. So this hotel is beautiful. It's on the beach. There's a big event going on that weekend, the Ocean to Bay ride. There's a lot of bikers in the area. And there's a lot of things to do besides biking down there as well. So highly recommend it. I'm certainly planning on going because I just love the beach. So I'll be there. So again, I'm not sure how long the registration will be open. I'm sure we'll let you know once it is getting ready to close, so that if you were on the fence, you can go ahead and sign up for that. Finger Lakes. Oh my gosh, I think it's going to work this year. Phil Zitzer has been communicating with the Hobart William Smith College there for a while. Sometimes it was hard to get answers, but it looks like they're getting ready to do a contract for us. The dates for that are going to be June 10th through 13th, which is Thursday through Sunday. However, we will still have the option available if you want to come on the 8th or the 9th of June. And once that registration opens up, it'll be in the drop down on the under special events under Finger Lakes. Normally, this is an event that we sign up for in January, but of course, that wasn't going to happen this year. So we moved it to March. It may be that we may scoot it a little bit further to April. That'll still give us plenty of time to get reservations in, because most of the reservations came in about the first 6 weeks anyway. So keep your eyes open. We'll let you know if this is going to happen. It'll be great to go back up to the Finger Lakes to that great riding. And the banquet. Oh, we didn't get our banquet in November. Sadly, we were planning on doing it in March 6th. We have reservations at the Colonial Country Club here in Lingelstown. I'm not sure that's going to go forth either. We're just going to have to wait and see. So keep your calendars open for if we can get that date settled down, so we can actually have a meeting, and maybe we'll end up not doing it until next October and November. It's hard to tell, but we're working on it. We're trying to work with what's out there. I want to talk a little bit about the Facebook pages. Dick Norford, who's in charge of our PR now, he's one of the vice presidents. He's been working really, really hard on trying to get a handle on what our social media is. And so we have 2 Facebook pages. One of them has a green logo on it, and it's kind of, I guess you could call it the public page for Harrisburg Bicycle Club. Anybody can view it, anybody can join. And then we have the newly titled Harrisburg Bicycle Club group Facebook page. The group is going to be a private Facebook page for only members. And so if you want to join if you go to join the anyway, Dick Norford and Marilyn Chastik are taking care of people who want to join that. And we just want to let you know that there's 2 different classifications. So it's kind of a little bit more secure for our members to have a private group page that only belongs to people who belong to HBC, versus the public page, which anybody who's interested in us, interested in our group, can review some of the posts. There's some great posts on there, and there is a link on the public page to join, and that takes you to the Facebook page, and you can join the club and be a member of the group page. Let's see, what else did I have on my schedule here? I think that I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
And again, this was just to be a short little thing to see if it would work, and it looks like from what I can see on the chats that everyone's enjoying it. So hopefully we can do a real kind of true member meeting in February 10th. So I'll look to hopefully see you all next month. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Scott, for putting together this presentation and the ability for us to share time tonight. And um, I don't know that I have anything else. Chris, Scott?
I'm complete, and thanks everybody for popping in on the club website as well as here in Facebook. Until the next time, it will probably be a better time. So that's my comment.
In closing,
Wait,
I'll just say that.
Can I
Go
just,
ahead, Susan.
there's something about the hotel. Was there a question about the hotel? Did I miss it? I can't see the following questions. Was not, all right. No, I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, well, just in a general sense, certainly there will be questions folks will have, either those we didn't get to or those that might come up you think about later tonight or tomorrow. Please send them forward. You can send them. Scott, is there a specific place you want those sent?
Well, you can continue to comment in the Facebook page as well as on the club website. However, Chris and Susan, you can continue to reply to those comments even after the show. This is a broadcast. It's currently live, but it will be replayable to anyone who missed it. So
Good. Good. Well, then what we'll do, I think, is we will give a little bit of soak time, if you will, and take a look at questions that come in later and maybe in the next few days. And if necessary, we'll perhaps put out a communication that will add clarification where it's needed or answer some of the other questions that came up. That's typical for there to be follow-up questions. So that would be great.
Susan?
I don't have anything else. Thank you all for spending time with us tonight. We look forward to seeing you on the bikes and on the streets and back here next month and February the 10th.